This is my latest e-newsletter video update, and I've recorded this slightly further in advance than I normally would, because right now I'm in Rotterdam, or I should be, providing there wasn't any delays or anything with my train and so on. But yeah, I'm in Rotterdam right now. I'm there partly as a birthday present to myself, but also I'm there to do some research for the Best is Surrey podcast on one of the topics that we're going to be covering very soon. So quite a few things to cover off in this week's e-newsletter. As always, if you have any questions about any of the content that I've included this week, drop me an email. I'm back on Saturday, so if you're opening this, so that'll be tomorrow when you're reading this. So drop me an email. It might take me a little bit longer than normal to respond because I'll be busy catching up on all the emails while I've been away, but I will get back in touch. Quite a lot of the video updates that I've done so far around the Mindenhurst development, I've tended to focus at the south of the village because that's where most of the activity is going on in respect of Mindenhurst. But this week I want to focus on the north of the village, so that's just beyond Dettingen Park. Residents will have noticed that there is a lot of fencing that's been erected there, and now there's a huge amount of activity on the sports field that is going to form part of the new sports hub. So if you don't know where that is, that if you remember the RLC Core Open Days that they used to do every summer, that we all used to look forward to and greatly miss, it's on that big field there. A lot of activity, so they're building the new sports hub. That will be lots of sports facilities which will be managed by Surrey Heath Borough Council when that's adopted. There'll also be a new sports pavilion, which should be quite nice, with changing facilities, a bar and social space. Also around that area there's going to be some allotments, and if you're interested in an allotment, and I know quite a few residents have actually asked me about this and when the allotments are going to be complete, but if you are interested in an allotment, I'll provide details in the newsletter of how you register your interest. Now there is some criteria around that. I think the main one being that you have to live within a certain radius of the allotments themselves. But I'll see if I can find some information on the Surrey Heath Borough Council website and provide a link, and if not, an email address where you can find out more about that. There's also going to be a care home, and that will be around about where the old officers' mess was there. That's now been demolished, roughly around that area. There's going to be a lot of new footpaths and cycle routes connecting to the Sangs from the sports hub location, and there is also going to be some new houses there that are going to back onto the sort of Crofters Close part of Dettingen Park. So huge amount going on at the north of the village in terms of Mindenhurst, and of course as things develop there I will provide further updates. I want to talk about the SFA, so that is the Service Families area of Deepcut, again in the north of the village but unrelated to the Mindenhurst development. So there's a huge amount of activity going on there, and residents have noticed that too, with fencing being erected. There's now a security guard there. You know, that was something that I requested from the DIO. I think it's actually Annington Homes that have provided that security now because they wanted to stop, you know, the illegal encampments. And there's also people been breaking into the properties, urban explorers, YouTubers, and all sorts of things going on there. There's even been a drugs den there, and you know, the illegal manufacture of drugs even in the SFA there. So they've now put in some security, which is a good thing, I think. But more importantly, Annington Homes, who actually own the SFA, you know, people think it was the MOD that owned those houses there that have been boarded up. Actually, they're not. They're privately owned by a company called Annington Homes. The Annington Homes leased those properties to the MOD for service families to, you know, to live if they're serving in the old barracks there or in Purbright. Actually, quite the families that were there served within the military, quite a wide area actually, but lived here in Deepcut. And that there's been a lot of concern about what's going to become of those properties. You know, there are a lot of residents who think it's a shame that those properties are not being used, considering there's so many families in the area who would really benefit from those properties. I have to say though that most of them are uninhabitable, and that's the work that's going on right now. So Annington Homes have already started refurbishing some of the better quality properties to get them to market, whether that be for sale or for rental. So they'll come on the market pretty soon, but then they're also going to start working on some of the worst properties in terms of quality. And I've been told by Annington Homes, had a telephone conversation with them last week, and they confirmed to me that quite a lot of those properties will be demolished and completely rebuilt, or like I say, the better quality ones will be refurbished. So quite a lot of work going on there. I would imagine it will be quite a long project because there's just so many properties down there. But Annington Homes have given me an assurance that they will remain in close communication with me and keep me informed of everything that's going on, in order that I can keep you updated in what's going on there. But I think it will be nice to have those properties refurbished, the area, you know, brought up to a standard close to everything else that is happening around the area, and you know, welcome families into those properties once they're ready for occupation. So keep an eye out on my updates. I'll keep you informed about what's going on, but I'm pleased to report finally there's some activity there, and getting those properties up to standard so that you know, they can go on the market for rental or for sale. As we know, a couple of weekends ago, Deachcut Bridge Road was completely closed while they completed the environmental improvement work, so the resurfacing works of Deachcut Bridge Road, line markings and so on. I've had a good look down there now. I've managed to have a cycle down there, and I'm very pleased with the results. I think they've done a really good job to a high specification, and yeah, beautiful smooth new road there. Really fantastic. New parking bays, speed tables, and my understanding as well is that there's going to be some more speed tables installed further down the village in the future. So they have resurfaced the road up to Brunswick Road, and as I mentioned in a previous update, negotiations were successful in getting Skanska to resurface the rest of the road from Brunswick Road to Lake Road Junction, not including the roundabout. They'll have to be done at a later date, and of course as soon as I find out when that is, I'll keep residents informed. There is been quite a bit of discussion about the new parking bays. So first of all, someone's been in touch with me about disabled provision within those parking bays. I've asked the highways planners to go away and take a look at that. I'm not aware that there is any disabled parking provision within those bays, but the highways planners are going to look at that and come back to me. But also, it would seem already that those parking bays are being abused, in so much as people parking there for a very long time, you know, sometimes for a day, 2 days, longer, you know, and I think that that is not the purpose of those parking bays. Those parking bays are there to have spaces for people who want to pop in and use the local businesses, and it's important that we support our local businesses to keep them viable, but you know, those parking spaces that really are there for those businesses, not resident parking or whatever. So I've had a chat with the highways planners about this, and they're going to closely monitor those parking bays, because if it becomes a problem and they continue to be abused, then I think that there may be a possibility that limited duration parking restrictions may be brought into force there in the future. I honestly would much rather that not be the case. But of course, you know, we have to make sure that our businesses are supported. They're really important to the viability of the village, the sustainability of the village. You know, they provide employment opportunities to local people. And, you know, we really want to make sure that they're supported. So that is something I'll be keeping a close eye on, as will the highways planners at Surrey County Council. But if you are watching this, you know, and you are a local resident, please don't park there for long-term or medium-term purposes. They really are short-term parking spaces to support the businesses.
I'm at Princess Place, which forms part of the Carla development at Mindenhurst, the phase 1. These are the first houses that were built here at Mindenhurst. And earlier on in the summer I did a video update about the footpaths that lead onto the Sangs, and a number of residents have been in contact with me about these to say that really those curbs there should be drop curbs. And let me flip the camera around. Yeah, at the moment they're normal curbstones that lead onto the path, and actually, to my mind, they should be drop curbs so that anybody with accessibility issues or mobility issues, so if you're in a wheelchair or a mobility scooter, whatever it may be, you should be able to access those footpaths easily. And that is not the case right now. So to be honest, I hadn't got round to speaking to Carla Homes about this. I had sent an email to Skanska asking them about it. They said that it was Carla Homes that installed these curbs here. And as yet, I hadn't had chance to speak to Carla about it. There was so much going on in Deepcut over the summer. But I have now spoken to Carla Homes, and they're looking into this for me. There are, I think, 2 access points to the Sangs from Princess Place. There's one further down the street there. And they're gonna look at that as well, and as soon as I hear back from them, I will report back.
To Frimley Green now and Spencer Close. Residents might remember there was a proposal by Network Rail to close the Hatches level crossing and install a footbridge instead at the bottom of Spencer Close, on the land there, right at the bottom of Spencer Close, which is actually owned by Surrey Heath Borough Council. So Network Rail would have had to have bought that land off Surrey Heath Borough Council in order to make that happen. As you may have heard from one of my previous updates, that idea has now been abandoned by Network Rail. But I've heard from a local resident who had also heard that there is now a proposal to build 15 new homes on that land at the bottom of Spencer Close. So that would mean that Surrey Heath Borough Council would sell that land to a developer to build 15 new homes. I asked one of the Lib Dem councillors at Surrey Heath Borough Council if he'd heard anything about that, and his words were to the effect of, "You may have heard that, but I couldn't possibly comment." And that is code, if you're a House of Cards fan, for yeah, that is the case. I've no idea what all the secrecy is about, to be honest with you. I don't know why the councillors are not being upfront about this. It's possible that a developer is in pre-application discussions with the council about buying that land to develop it, so perhaps it's commercially sensitive. I've no idea. But I think that we need to be open and upfront about these sorts of things. Anything that is on council-owned land that may then result in, you know, an impact on local residents, whatever that impact might possibly be. There might not be any impact at all, but nonetheless, I think residents deserve to understand exactly what is being proposed there and any discussions that are ongoing. So I'm going to ask Sashi Malvaganam, who is the Conservative councillor in Frimley Green, to keep a very close eye on this. And as soon as we hear anything at all, you know, I will update residents via my newsletter. As far as I'm aware, there's been no application been put in to Surrey Heath Borough Council about this yet. But as soon as I hear anything, you'll be the first to know. at the time of recording this segment, so Friday the 20th of September, today we had a very heavy deluge of rain, and as is always the case when this happens, I've received communication from some of the residents down in Gresham Way in Frimley Green, that's by Cross Farm School there, and there was a flooding incident there today. And I have to say that every time this happens, very helpfully the residents there send me pictures, send me videos, so I can track the severity of the issue to see if it's getting worse. And I'm certain from the images that I received today, the problem is getting worse, and that does concern me a great deal, as it understandably is concerning residents there, particularly when vehicles drive through the flooding. It creates a wave, and it's not going to be long before that breaches somebody's property. It's already going into people's garages, but I'm really worried that that is going to go into somebody's property before long. So earlier I had a ride down to Gresham Way, and a couple of residents spotted me there and came out and had a chat. In fact, one woman showed me a picture of her son when he was a little boy, of him in the flood water then, and her son is now well into his 20s, so it just goes to show you how long this has been an issue. But I am concerned about it, and I think it's got to the point now where I'm thinking that this is going to be my new Sturt Road. I don't need to go over the issues that we've had at Sturt Road. That has been a problem for a long time there, a very long time there. It looks as though we might have solved that now. There is still some work to be done down there, but in the main, we're not seeing any flooding there now, especially during heavy rainfall events. So just to update residents about what I'm doing in respect to Gresham Way, I did fire off an email to the local lead drainage engineer, who instructed an investigation crew to come down and take a look. But then when he looked at the history notes on Gresham Way, this is something that actually I had requested him to do last year. And when he looked back through the notes, he'd seen that they'd already done some detailed investigations on Gresham Way, and that would tie in actually with what residents told me when I visited the location the other day, and they came out to speak to me. So they've gone back through those reports, and it turns out actually that Thames Water were asked to come and inspect their pipes and all their drainage assets, because the Surrey County Council assets in the road were all clear, and as far as the investigation crew were concerned, that the Surrey County Council assets were actually in good shape. So it seems to be a Thames Water issue, and the lead drainage engineer for the area has now got in touch with Thames Water to chase them up, to get them down to have a look at their assets to see if there's something that they can do to resolve the matter. I'm pretty sure they will be able to do that. It's just a matter of when they do that. So that's something that our lead drainage engineer is now chasing up. On another flooding matter in Frimley Green, and that is at King's Mews. That, if you don't know where that is the newish development, which is right next door to the post office and the opposite the tyre place, but by the mini roundabout there in Frimley Green. Now, it regularly floods there when there's a heavy rain event, and residents recently have sent me pictures and videos of that to ask if it's something that I can get resolved for them. I did task drainage engineers with having a look down there and investigating what the problem is, and it turns out, I'm afraid to say, that it's not the maintenance of the drains on the highway that is the issue, but the private drainage system directly related to that development. And unfortunately, that is something that residents of that development through their management company are going to have to resolve. The Highway Authority are unable to help with that, I'm afraid. But I'm happy to
act as a conduit on behalf of those residents with their management company. I do have some experience with that here in Dettingen Park in Deepcut. So if there's anything that residents want me to help with in terms of facilitating meetings and discussions with the management company, I'm more than happy to do that. Obviously, get in touch. Now, I want to use this platform as an opportunity to highlight a remarkable act of community spirit by one of our very young members of the community. Now, I had an email recently from a very proud grandmother who was telling me about how her granddaughter Macy, 8-year-old Macy, held a fundraising event in their garden for friends and family to raise money for the Phyllis Tuckwell Hospice. And little Macy astonishingly managed to raise £1,300 for the Phyllis Tuckwell Hospice. Now, the hospice is a very dear place to me and my family for very personal reasons. I cannot speak highly enough of the Phyllis Tuckwell Hospice and the services that they provide to our community. Really, really important services. And anyone who has ever had cause to have a family member use the services of the hospice, whether that's at the hospice itself in Farnham or has received at-home care by hospice professionals, you'll never hear anyone say a bad word about the Phyllis Tuckwell. It's the most incredible place. Actually, somebody once said to me about the Phyllis Tuckwell and probably all hospices, that they are places to celebrate life, not death. And it's something that actually, words that has always resonated with me, having had some personal experience of the Phyllis Tuckwell. So a massive congratulations to Macy. Thank you on behalf of the community for your efforts. Absolutely remarkable. We can't thank you enough.